He is an anti-vaxxer allergist who who whose vote for the big bullshit bill is going to close 25 Missouri rural hospitals and 21 nursing homes. If you ever heard that rumor about kids using kitty litter boxes in schools that Moms for Liberty took and went nationwide with, that came from Bob Onder. But I'm running against him, and so we have an alternative in November. And I am running on a platform of making sure that we are placing value of the people in our communities over the profits of just a handful of billionaires. And I connected with Amanda when we discussed the impacts of COVID. That is what got me into this race. Is I watched a congressman from Missouri and the third congressional when we first started to hear about the impact and the harm of COVID. He went on TV and he lied about it. He's not a virologist. Blaine was actually a banker. So he doesn't, I don't expect great public health information from him, but he sure as hell knows how to read a market report. And he knew of the harm that COVID would cause to his constituents, and he didn't care. He went on TV and he lied about it. So we've been working very hard to organize to unseat not just him, but every single leader who failed to give their constituents good information, and that ultimately led to the insurrection on January 6th that was funded by many of those on the far right here in Missouri. Fred deals with them as well too. We have launched a campaign here in Missouri's third about bringing people together. And that is what is so exciting, is it's not just about what are we running against, but what are we running for? We are running for inclusivity to bring more people at the table. But we're running ultimately because every single person here who's listening to this, we all deserve freedom. We deserve the freedom to make decisions about our own body without the government getting in the way or getting stuck with a bill that makes us wonder whether or not we're going to be able to afford our insulin or our electric bill. I believe in the freedom that all of our kids should be able to breathe clean air, drink clean water, and have something better for them, and making sure that we have full and equitable access to public education is also a big part of my platform. So I am here running. We have moved the needle almost 20 points in this race. I know that there is a lot of hard and distressing news that is intentional, that is purposeful, and it is meant to overwhelm you. I was told I am running against the guy, Bob Onder, who offered up the congressional maps to President Trump. And I was told, with the topic being obedience, I was told that as a candidate, I was to respect the MAGA map, that I should only go and campaign in the legal MAGA map. Our Secretary of State, Denny Hoskins, said that President Trump had every right to do that, and I should just stay in my place and stay in my lane and only run in that congressional district. Well, I told him that here in Missouri, we don't, because he also said that he was going to use this electioneering law from the 1930s that stipulated that Congress people or people running for Congress had to advocate for that congressperson in the district to be given permission to go into their congressional district and run. And so I told Denny that what we were going to do is beat Bob on any map and go wherever we wanted to build our message of bringing people together here in Missouri. And that's exactly what we've done. Even with this new MAGA map, we are in a 12-point race with one of the most extreme politicians, but we are running our race with progressive values by bringing people together and in resisting. That's been the beautiful part of this whole process is watching communities that I love that bring so much value to our heart and soul of our communities running together in solidarity. So I'm just so happy to be with you. Our campaign is about bringing people together, and what we've all built together in Missouri with Fred Wellman and his incredible team has been really phenomenal. So thank you, Amanda, for all the wonderful work that you do to advocate. And if you have time to jump on board with my campaign or learn more about what we're doing to bring Missouri together, go to BethanyMannForCongress.com. And I'll also drop my information in the chat. But I'm just so happy to be with all of you. Just don't forget that they want to distress and overwhelm us. But what I'm seeing all across Missouri's third is people are coming together, and they're coming together to fight corruption. They're coming together because they care about clean water, because they want access to health care, and their children deserve a good education. And those are the values that we're fighting for. There's nothing more American than serving as who you are with whatever abilities and talents that you have. And so we run so that no man is left behind. So I'll ask for your vote in November and I'll ask for your support. But in the meantime, thank you all just for being here and being present.
Well, thank you for coming. I always appreciate what you have to say. And speaking of bringing people together, I have another person I want to talk to you about, but we'll take that offline later on. It just occurred to me, wait, you need this person and she needs you. So, and next up, we've got someone I really
Thank you.
respect in my long COVID circles. Emily, go ahead and introduce yourself. Thank you so much for being here, friend.
Hello. Behind me, you can see a quilt that my grandmother made, and it's camping.
I
And
love it.
there's a tent, and I can't reach it, but there's little feet there to represent all 7 of her children, which I think is too many. Um, all right. So my formal introduction is, hi, this was what I have written down to warn about. You get to see me think as I talk, which I tell my doctors this is a very special opportunity. They don't agree or do anything about it, but that's okay. So you will see me think and stutter through this. But I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for Amanda for everything that you do and for having me. My name is Emily Ritchie Stavrind. COVID was very generous to me and gave me long COVID, MCAS, POTS, CCI, and worst of all, myalgic encephalomyelitis, also known as ME or CFS. And I used to be a public speaker as part of all the different things I did. And now I have to take a breath every 4 words because my brain thinks it's dying, which it's like chill. And the next thing I have written down is, and if I can put the fire out in my brain long enough to finish up my thesis, I will have 3 degrees in politics and policy. I'm thesis coming September 2026 and or never. We'll see. And or I'm here to briefly talk about organizing, and it's very hard, and it's even harder, but not impossible when you're disabled. And the United States government is knowingly disabling you, your neighbors, and siblings in countries all over the world. Data centers that nobody wants are polluting the air and soil and water and sickening the mostly Black and poor communities where they're built while draining millions of gallons of water from entire regions. Did you know that 45 states are in drought right now and have been for the entire year? Climate change, well, climate crisis. And currently, there are dozens of detainees on hunger strike being held in Delaney Hall, which is a private prison in New Jersey. They're protesting being sexually abused by guards, being pepper sprayed and beaten, worms in food, and importantly, constant sickness and new and worsening disabilities due to poor ventilation and no medical care. Their communities are outside protesting these conditions, and they're met with police beatings and pepper spray. And due to the orders of the mayor, who, by the way, ran on a pro-immigration, anti-deportation platform, which he's now fully reversed as soon as he got into power. How fun. And he has banned masks for protesters so they can no longer protect themselves. We know mask bans are dangerous and are being attempted all over the country. Internationally, while USAID was not perfect, conservative estimates show that around 750,000 people have already died unnecessarily from the sudden ending of almost all USAID programs, especially healthcare. And the almost $80 billion budget that was a USAID is still being used by the Trump administration, but for what? No one's really quite sure. Well, someone knows, but they're not letting us know. which is our tax dollars, which is fine. Not mine because I can't work, but somebody's tax dollars, probably my husband's. Um, and the US has sent over $300 billion to Israel to commit genocide, mass disability, and ecocide against Palestine and Lebanon and Iran, while we're in a climate crisis, mind you. In the last 2 years, using American money and bombs, Israel has made Gaza home to the largest group of child amputees in modern history, according to the UN. Our senators and representatives are voting to send billions of dollars to Israel to bomb kids while voting to defund Medicare, SNAP, adding work requirements to Medicaid, and opening protected nature for oil drilling and deep sea mining. They want us dead. We cannot trust this country's government or politicians. The system was built on blood 250 years ago with slavery and indigenous ecocide and genocide. And the corruption and devaluation of people continues. The rare few people who can resist the ring of power and APAC money, if you will, are often quickly pushed out by the establishment. We've been protesting, we've been campaigning, and we've been begging for change, and yet it keeps getting worse. So we need to change our approach. Mutual aid is one of my favorite forms of organizing, especially now that I'm super disabled. Mutual aid starts as directly meeting the needs of your community and often grows by necessity to address the systemic issues creating these needs. Some call it parallel structures. That's something you might hear. So the community provides things that the government should be, but isn't, like nutritional programs, giving a free harvest from a community garden that someone made from an abandoned lot, and giving out the vegetables and fruits and putting them in free pantries around the area. And historically, we have some really great examples. This looks like the Black Panthers providing free daily breakfast for, at its peak, tens of thousands of Black children all over the country so that they could learn and grow and not be as affected by the poverty that the federal government was happy to let happen, slash also just straight up created. And then STAR, or Street Transvestites Action Revolutionaries, was a group in the 70s, in the very early 70s, founded by Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, that fought for trans rights, and they provided practical support and housing for trans youth and trans adults in New York City. My local mutual aid organization has a social media page where anyone can put what they need: groceries, a ride, someone to come look at their car, or help with a copay. And if people can fill that need, they do. They give time, their resources, money. The only rule is no means testing. If you need it, you get it. No ID checks, no paperwork to show that you're really in need, and no shaming. Hopefully there's something like this in your region. I encourage you to get involved in any way you can, even if that's just receiving help. It still builds community, and you're working with others in your area to build something new and independent, yet connected. Give what you can, and importantly, receive what you need. Another great way to plug into accessible mutual aid is to join your local mask block. A lot of blocks are made up of primarily disabled people because, to quote the incredible Black abolitionist Maraba Kaba, we do this till we free us. There's frequently opportunities for housebound or bedbound people within mask blocks, and you get to do what the government decided to not do at the beginning of COVID, which is give out free PPE, masks, and provide a small amount of health equity for those who need it most. As already has been said, the government wants us to be too desperate, too sick, and too focused on just surviving so that it is able to get away with doing anything it wants. That's what the last 10 years have looked like for all America, and what the last 300 years have been for Black and Indigenous people in this country. Mutual aid gives us the control. Dean Spade, who wrote the great and short book, it's just called Mutual Aid, super simple. Ask your library to buy it for you. I did. And they say, we don't know what'll happen if we try, but we sure know what happens if we don't. When we stop waiting for the US government to be interested in being benevolent and supportive, then we free ourselves to start building what we need within our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. There's so much truth in those words, especially about, hey, we got us because we have to. We are here for us, and this is exactly what we need to be doing. And I'm sorry, I love that. I love that quilt. I'm really loving that quilt. But hey, I'm the tent lady. Next up, we've got another person from my long COVID circles, Katie Labrie. Katie, please introduce yourself, and why don't you tell us where you are, Katie?
Hi, everyone. Well, I'm sitting on the steps outside the place that I stay at just because my kids are loud. And so they're playing a game with my friend right now. But my name's Katie. Amanda and I initially met through the Long Haulers group that she started. And just a little, pepper in about Amanda. She's absolutely amazing. And when I talk to people about the help that I do in this group, that is nothing compared to how much Amanda does. I'm like, this girl did this from a tent for 2 years, just like that. And Amanda is one of the people I think that has made it so that I could get through all of this process, because my story starts, well, I live in Minneapolis. I have specifically lived in South Minneapolis and was there the day that Renee Good was murdered. My boyfriend and I were in the middle of moving, and we heard shots, and he said, I think ICE just shot someone. And so we went on to the few pages that Minnesota had developed for like ICE watch to be happening, and then saw the SWAT cars and then the rest of the ICE team go there. And to have that happening, but then on top of that, I'm sick with the POTS and MECFS and all these other things that are fancy names just to say that my body is sick a lot. But so we have that going on, and then moving in January that day, I was homeless, and I have been without permanent housing since November of 24. And the last two moves have been really hard. We've moved 4 times since then. But one of the ways that I've gotten through it is a lot to do with the mutual aid of the long COVID group that we have, because everyone needs help, and everyone is one illness, one accident, one anything away from a completely different life that took all these parts of you that were so much of who you are. And so when I reached out to Amanda, help immediately starts coming in, because I couldn't, when we moved in January, couldn't afford gas and groceries for a while. And also, to add another layer to my life, I was in school full time for my doctorate in nursing, which I graduated with last month. Yeah. So we're doing school full time, we're working full time, home, and we're sick. So there's many layers, but I guess what we've seen in Minneapolis a lot is now that the surge is quote unquote done, is ICE has just gone underground, and they are intermingled into our neighborhoods and communities so much that we don't know until someone's gone. It's not like in the beginning when we had, the rapid response team, and we would see them and be able to go to this area and do whistles or do something to try and help. But that's not what's happening now. It's just now people are just gone. And especially we're seeing things with our Somali community. There was the Columbia Heights High School rented out the convention center that's in Maplewood, and the Ramsey County Sheriff spent the entire evening harassing Somali families. About 20 different officers. And so now we have this level of racism, and that has just been bubbling to the surface, to now that people feel empowered to hurt our communities, and And all of us are so, I mean, I don't know what everyone is feeling. I know for me, it's the helpless feeling of feeling like you're not doing enough. And also, how do you balance that with being sick? Like, I, and it's like we go until we crash because the society we live in won't let us be sick. There is no being sick. There is one thing that me and Amanda say all the time, message each other is we fucking got this. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I don't know how I can get through the next 10 minutes, but we fucking got this. And we do. We always do. And I think that's what makes like this community that we have special and can help people. But like, we're at the point. Also, notice the earrings. The earrings are guillotines, people. They have blood on them because that's what we want to be seeing. But yeah, the time for me for sitting by, like, I need to be more active somehow. And I liked what Emily was saying about like building our communities. It's like, how do we do that to get people the help they need? Because as bad as things are right now, if you're paying attention, this is going to be so catastrophic for the generations to come. And when I think about my kids, because I have 3 kids, they are 14, 10, and 7, is that their lives will not be anything like mine, and I have no way of giving them that with what is happening. So how do we stop this? We could go on and on, friends, but I guess my point being, this community that I have with Amanda and online with all these other people who I've never really even met, but like, you know, um, they have helped me get to where I am. And because of them, I am on the verge of such a better life for me and my kids.
I'm excited for you.
I know you are. I know you are.
You did it. We fucking did it.
I don't know how, dude, but we fucking did it.
High five. Oh yeah.
I love you, girl.
I love you too.
Okay. I got to get back into my kiddos.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much for taking. I know how tired you are. Keep up the good fight.
We got to go.
In the middle of all this, she's like, "Hey, I'm going out tomorrow," and I'm like, "You need a mask?" She's like, "Hell yeah, I need a mask. We got her masks."
Let's go.
Let's do it. Bye, Katie.
Bye.
Next up, let's bring Catherine Hart up. Catherine, I adore you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. The feeling is mutual. You know, you're one of my heroes.
Oh, thank you.
So, I was trying to think about what I wanted to talk about with you, and I said I'm going to talk about the rich people have everything and we have nothing, which is good because they do. But I am, for those of you who don't know who I am an actress and an acting coach, and my sister is the actress Morgan Fairchild, and we have a sister podcast called Two Bitches from Texas. And it's not Two Bitches from Texas. Thank you, Fred. It's not Two Bitches from Texas because we're mean ass people, but of course we can be. But not Morgan. I can. She's really sweet. But we call it that because as longtime women, we understand totally if you're powerful in this world as a woman, you have a choice in a power world. You can either be considered a booby head or a bitch, and I would much rather be called a bitch. So there we go. Anywho, but on our podcast, we're doing the podcast because we have these sister talks that I will have right after we finish this tonight. For hours and hours every Sunday night. We schedule it in like it's like, a clockwork. we have to have our sister talk. And we wanted to share the way we talk to each other with other people, because we talk about all the shit, but we always have hope. And I think that's where we all are, I think, right now, or you wouldn't be here. You would be in the ground. And so what I'd rather talk about, instead of just about not having, you know, anything anymore because they have it all, is the fact that I absolutely adore having so many different people here. And it just continues to remind me that one of the reasons Morgan and I do our thing is we have this saying called "we lift each other up together." And no one is by yourself, but we all are. And like, I was just thinking, like, remember when you used to buy food and you didn't worry that it was safe or not? I'm sorry, you remember when you used to buy food and you could actually afford to buy food? I don't know. And that measles was this horrible, horrible thing that you always instinctively protected your children against because you loved them. And like, no one had to tell you that. It was like a mother and a father would always want to make sure their child was safe. And, you know, when we didn't hear on the news that our planet might actually end by the end of the century, I mean, that was not on my bingo card. And remember being like a student and going to DC when you were in high school and you wanted to have your picture in front of the White House. Well, fuck that. You don't want that anymore, because the White House, I'm sorry, you know, there used to be this rose garden there. It was so beautiful, but we can't have that. Oh, and I remember when people didn't grab your neighbors off the street and put them in a gulag, and when you could buy a car, a house, and have a little vacation with one job. And that was the American dream. And it was that little shining city on the hill. It was kind of cheesy and kind of sweet and kind of boring because we heard it our whole lives. But, you know, you just never thought it wouldn't be there. And I am 74, and I friggin' remember everything. My very first protest was with John Lennon at Times Square when I was a student at Juilliard, and I didn't know nothing about anything, and I probably wasn't even old enough to vote yet. And I got the bug. And the reason I got the bug was, I mean, I always knew that our country was never perfect, but we always strove to be better. And what I found out when I protested was, I didn't know nothing about anything, and I was only about 17 years old, but I and a bunch more young people stopped a war. And that was just one person. I was just one person, and I helped to stop an entire war. And that was so empowering, and it made me understand for the first time in my life what we the people actually meant. And so for my whole life after that, I have fought and I have voted and I have, you know, fought for women's rights and civil rights and gay rights and handicap rights and clean water and clean air and, you know, all the good stuff. And science and medicine were the savior of the human race, and truth and honor were worth dying for. And law mattered, and the Supreme Court was just, and good was just always the side we wanted to be on. That's what I remember. And so these friggin' people, in this little short moment in history, I'm sorry, they don't get my entire lifetime and our entire history and your children and your grandchildren's history. They don't. We love friggin' being the land of immigrants. We friggin' love it. We are proud of it. We love debating with respect and passion. We love, you know, and we want everyone to vote. We want everyone to get a fair election that's equal, and an education, and you can have your own religion, whatever it is, or you can make one up. You don't even have to have one. And cruelty was abhorrent. And if your 11-year-old daughter got raped, it would have been immoral and dangerous to not try to get her an abortion. And now, I'm sorry, this is just my personal opinion, but the White House looks like a crack house. And honestly, if I did that to my house, my HOA would come after me with a vengeance. But DC might have other thoughts. At any rate, all of this stuff is happening. The middle class is poor, the poor are poorer. One job won't get you diddly squat. Crazy people are destroying everything good that we ever knew. But you are here. And I am here. And they didn't count on that. And this is what we the people is. Well, first of all, I remember when I met you, Amanda, for the first time. Never in person, but it just feels like that.
Right.
And you were homeless in your little tent. And to me, it felt like you made me feel the taste of one person who was actually experiencing that. And it was like they threw you away like you were garbage. And you put on your fucking eyelashes and your sparkle glasses and your sparkle red lipstick. And you said, I'm still sparkling. And it was amazing to me. That's why you're my hero. Like, how does someone do that? And you always look like this. You always, I'm sure you have your terrible sessions too, but you always sparkle. And they can't take your sparkle away. And they think that we are all expendable and that they can do anything they want to and get away with it. But they can't. And the main reason is because one person, Amanda, brought us here. And one person just got them to take his name off the Kennedy Center. And one person going into court beats an entire DOJ every friggin' time. And these are just one person showing up. I mean, every time I go to a protest, I see new faces. And what I see in those faces, this look on their faces of joy, pure joy, when they look around and they realize all these other one persons are there for the same and many different reasons that they are. But they thought they were only one person, and they're not. And everyone there has a different sign, and everyone there has a different reason. And all of these one singular people have shown up. Indivisible started with one person at a time, and now we have millions. And this is all we have to do. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that I live in Texas, and I was one of 4,000 people that showed up in dear old Ken Paxton's district and Tallarico the hell out of him. And it was filled with all these one persons filled with joy at the beginning of summer when no one thinks about voting or doing anything like that. And the line was stretching forever. And that is one person's, that is us showing up. And I see people shutting down AI. And I see people saying you can't have a detention center in my place. I see people in Albania standing up, and they're standing up again. Poor old Jared and Ivanka just have such a hard life. The whole country stood up against them. That was one person's. We the people is friggin' everywhere. It's not just here. So this is a moment not for us to bemoan where we are, but to be in this moment individually and together as we reawaken the importance of kindness, of decency, of honor, of neighbors, of education, of science, of all the things that truly are factual and real and tangible, and you can smell them and touch them and love them. And I just think they are just being bowled over right now, because not only can we do this, we are doing this, like right now. And my last thing I will say is, I have a no hate sign out in my front yard. And my new neighbor that moved across the street a short time ago just informed me a few days ago that she moved into that house across the street from mine because of my no hate sign. So, we the people, they can try to stop us as hard as they want to, but they can't. And we are winning. And the reason we are winning is because we are the fucking people. So I'm sorry, I did use some curse words. It's in my nature. I must stop. I know Fred didn't mind, but everybody else may have. But I love you guys dearly. And sometimes what we have learned now is that we stand up with kindness, but with ferocity. Thank you for laughing, Fred.
She knows me well. She knows me way too well.
That's right. Thank you so much, Catherine. Camille, I'm going to come back to you. Hartzell Gray. I love Hartzell Gray. I have loved this person for years. When I was out there driving around Kansas City doing deliveries, I did not want to do. I had Hartzell Gray's his dulcet tones on my radio. So Hartzell, take it away. With us, Hartzell? Did I lose you?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There you are.
There we go. Hey, friend, I love you. It's so good to see you. I see Brother Fred also on the line. Gonna flip that Missouri too. And did I see also Miss Bethany Mann? Did she just kicking off the show? It's so wonderful to be surrounded by just incredible fighters, incredible people. You, Amanda, all of our allies, all of our coalition. This is why we do this, because to run for office, you're on an island by yourself. But you don't have to be, because, in the words of Eugene Debs, I don't come from a movement, I come with a movement. And everyone on this call is a part of that movement that, I don't want to speak for Bethany and Fred, but I think I can when I say that this is the movement. It's us on this call. No one's going to save us. It is us that we're going to do this. And so I would love to, if I can, on this No King Sunday, we talked a little bit about "We Got Us." That's one of our taglines on the campaign. Go to hartzellforcongress.com, get a shirt. And so I would love to remind us who we are. I would love for us to be reminded about who we always have been. I think that it is time that we remind ourselves that we are heirs of an incredible, beautiful, radical story. Our story, the American promise, and it's always been ours. And I think that as Democrats, I am excited for us to reclaim what it means to be a patriot, because we've actually got a roadmap. We've got a book. We got a sentence, and it comes from the Declaration of Independence. I think it's really important that we own this heritage and tradition that we have, because we said that we have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So what does that look like? Ms. Catherine, you said it so beautifully. We talk about that better world that's possible. What does it look like? What does it breathe like? What's our environment like? Can we walk outside, period? What does it mean to get from point A to point B, to get to your job or to get to where you want to go? That's this beautiful, better world. We need to start asking ourselves, no, what does that really, really look like? What do we deserve? We deserve it all. And so we got life right here. We are. You got a bunch of woke folks, just like we got on this call. Good people, but it's not a religious thing. It's here we are. But how do we get anything done? What are we going to do with all these woke sheep? You know what? We got to find a way to make our lives better. So we chose liberty, right? We chose democracy. We chose people power. We didn't choose profit power. We didn't choose pack power. We chose us. We chose the people. And so now we got a way to get things done. Not an intellectual exercise. Remember, this is we the people endowed with unalienable rights. And so we've got this liberty to pursue our happiness. And what does the pursuit of happiness look like? What's that better world look like if it doesn't include universal health care? What's it look like if it doesn't include a guaranteed job, a guaranteed social home that is yours? What does it look like if not making sure that I'm going to have an environment that's going to be around for a while, not just for my kids, who I will love when I have those things. I want it for us. I want it for us now. What does that more perfect union look like if not knowing that we are investing in our people, not in a war machine, not in genocide, not in ethnic cleansing? I want to make sure that, instead of sending bombs to babies overseas, I want to make sure my babies here, working class babies over here, I want to make sure they don't have to. I want to make sure that they can walk down and grab the diploma from high school when they graduate, because too many of our kids can't because they have school lunch debt. That's not a perfect union. And you know what? A more perfect union that is ours, endowed to ours. It doesn't just belong to a bunch of billionaires. It certainly doesn't belong to that one trillionaire. No, we're going to tax those folks because I love Taylor Swift. I've been rocking with T Swift since Teardrops on my guitar, but we're going to tax the hell out of her. And we're going to make sure that we invest in our people. This is not radical. It is American. To be a patriot is to be a progressive. To be a progressive is to be a patriot. And I'm not talking about a label. I'm talking about what we believe. Our North Star is us, because we got us. And so just know that on this No King Sunday, no, we don't have a king, but we do have systems that act like a king. We have systems of oppression with the boots of this system on our throat. So no, we don't want a king, and no, we don't want any more of these systems that act like kings. I'm talking about the Supreme Court as well. My friends, we have it within our power. Thomas Paine, the father of social democracy, I call him my social daddy. He said we have it within our power to begin the world over again. The same dude who said in the Crisis Papers that these are the times that try men's souls. Washington said at halftime that Tommy P, we getting our ass kicked. Give us something. He said, you know what? We have no time. He said, we have no time for sunshine patriots. And that same man said that we indeed have it within our power, our collective power. And I tell you what, I bet a king wishes that they had the power of the people, because we are undeniable. One of my favorite lines is that electeds come and go. People, like us running for office, we come and go, but it is the people who remain. It is we who are immortal. Again, that more perfect union also means that our folks who are dealing with long COVID, who are suffering from long COVID, this is also your more perfect union. And you're going to get that health care because it's a human right and it's yours. You're going to have the support you need because you are a person and you deserve it all. And so I am just so fired up and passionate because we have a moment that we're going to turn into a movement. These clowns in Missouri wanted to put together a 7-to-1 map. Fred, we talked about this. We talked about this back in January, brother. They wanted a 7-1 map. And these folks are going to play themselves, because when you gerrymander, somebody's going to fall on their sword. That W-mandering is real. We're going to retain the first. Fred, you're going to flip the second. I am going to flip the fourth against Mark Alford. Congressman Cleaver is going to get across the finish line. That's 4-4 right there. Bethany, when you bring it home, that's 5-3? And these clowns wanted 7-1. That's real.
Grand slam.
That is
There
a
you go.
grand slam, and we are swinging for the fences. So I don't want to speak on behalf of our candidates here, but I think I can. We just need your support, friends. Just help us in this movement, and Coming to America, I love that movie. They say we love the donations that cling and clang, but we prefer the kind that folds. And I guess now in 2026, I guess we like the kind that can be absorbed by a QR code. Either way, we need you. We got us. Ain't nobody saving us. We don't need anybody to save us. We're on this call. And so there always will be more of us. Don't you ever forget it. You are an American. You are you. All these things matter. It's yes and, not either or. We make sure that we take care of us, and us is our unhoused, it is our undocumented, it is our veterans, of which over 30,000 are unhoused themselves. It are elders who deserve to have the dignity and the courage that they have shown be represented in the courage from their government, not not subsidizing the pocketbooks of private equity and investors who think that my grandma's therapy is actually something that to be made a profit on. And then when they don't want to, or when they want to streamline, when they want to go lean, that's just code words for sentencing grandma to death. Because how is she going to get to another facility? There's not one in her city or her county. Friends, this is everything. They think this is a game. This is everything. So you know what? And Miss Catherine, you did it first, but let me say one little movie word. All right, this is the show me state, and these folks have shown their asses. So now we're coming for them. Expect us. We got us. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much, Hartzell. And I gotta tell, I have to tell this story every time I see you. It's okay if you need to run. But no, Hartzell is the real deal. I reached out, I don't know how many times, to my representative. Crickets. I heard more crickets from that office than I did in the woods around me. I called out to Hartzell and I was like, I am cold. I am just really cold. Guy went out and bought a brand new blanket for me and brought it to me. That's the kind of act. Like, when he says we got us, he really means we got us. So
Love you, girl. Love you, love you.
go do your thing, sir.
HartzellForCongress.com. One more time. That's
Go.
HartzellForCongress.com.
Support Hartzell.
We'll drop the link in the comments, folks. Have a good one. I'll take mine off air. Fred, back to you.
See you, buddy. Oh no, I'm not following that. Screw that.
Right. Ow, ow. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
there we go.
Bill.
Why would you do that to me? That's not fair.
Yeah, I planned it on purpose. Yes. Actually, I've got Camille following that up. And Camille, I forgot my tissues, but girl, bring it. We got this. We got this. You with me, Camille?
Hey, sorry.
Oh,
How
it's
are
okay.
you?
Hi, it's so good to see you. Gosh.
Hey, you too. You too. Thanks for having me. I don't know how much you want me to go. You want me to tell the whole fucking story, I guess?
Hello.
I am a bold ass bitch, and I always have been, which is why a lot of people, largely men, do not like me, and whatever, I don't care. But I have always been a fighter. I started for, like, somebody else was talking about their first protest. I think I was at my first protest when I was like 8 years old in Michigan. I was an anti-fur protest that my parents and I, my sister and I had just gone and bought like little stuffed animals from like World Wildlife Fund. And we just like ran into like some protest, and I was like, anti-fur, let me get behind that. And it's like, 2 years later, I've been a vegetarian since I was 10 too. I'm like big animal rights activist, but so Amanda and I know each other because my sister was part of the long haul COVID group. My sister Eve, that's how we connected. My sister unfortunately passed last year from, really, it was fentanyl. It was a drug overdose, but that's all connected. She actually said something to me that I said to my parents yesterday, and I have it in a text from her when she started. She got into drug use because she was in pain and no doctors were listening to her. She had, like, the long COVID, she had so many weird side effects. Like, she started like bleeding out. My nephew had to call an ambulance. She had to get 3 blood transfusions, and like still nobody listened. She's like, no, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. And she's poor too, Medicaid, so, not, no help. Nobody's listening. She's also a woman. So, just don't listen to any of us. And she said something to me when she was in the throes of this. And she said, I don't think I'm an addict as much as I just don't want to be in pain anymore. And that is fucking heartbreaking. And I hated that she said too, because we live in America. I'm sorry. Every other first world country has socialized medicine. There's no reason we don't have free healthcare here. No fucking reason. I get my dental work done in Turkey. The fact that I'm an American citizen and I have to go to Turkey because I can't afford dental care here is fucking ridiculous. Ridiculous. My sister that I told Eve too, with like all of her dental stuff, like I was gonna take her to Turkey to get implants for like her teeth because I'm like, you can't fucking afford it here. There's like politically, like I'm not even a Democrat. I'm not even a liberal. I am so far fucking left. I'm basically a communist. I don't care. And I'm like the leftist, most woke bitch ever. And I tell people, weirdly enough, I am a gun owner. I'm like, you go far enough left, you get your guns back. Because I'm about to pop a cap in somebody's fucking ass, okay? Because I don't care. Because they're doing it to all of us. So I'm in the city of Chicago. Thank God, because Chicago is so left. We hate ICE. We hate Trump. Trump fucking hates us. He won't come here. The last 2 times he tried to come here, he canceled it because everybody went fucking ape shit. Because everyone hates him. ICE too. It's like every time you see something about in Chicago, it's not in Chicago, it's in the suburbs. Because ICE is not allowed here. Like we literally like chase down the cars. Like we do not care. You know, like Chicago is the only reason Illinois is blue. Okay, without Chicago, Illinois would not be blue. So I am lucky enough to live in the city where I feel like I'm very supported here. Super like gay, trans friendly, women's rights, like everything. So I'm very lucky to live here in the city because this is where all the sane people are. As much as the news would like to tell you otherwise. I'm saying, but I am, you know, I've been a protester my whole life. Eve too. Eve came with me to so many parts. We were at No Kings protest. We took her kids. She's, you know, very big into that. I make the joke that that she passed away because she was like, I'm not dealing with this for another fucking year. I'm like, you bitch, you fucking locked me here. But the time for peaceful protest is done. We need to take a lesson from France, like the Carcadia, I think, with the guillotine earrings. No, the streets are running red with the wrong blood. It's running red with blood of immigrants and children, and it needs to be running red with all these fucking maniacs. Like, peaceful protest done. Like how they say we are a protest, that's how we actually need to be. I don't have respect for it. I do not have respect for law. I do not have respect for people that are in our streets in mass kidnapping people and killing people. No, I want to slit your throat and then like bathe in your blood, because that is what needs to happen right now, because we are being too fucking nice. Well, you know, people in the White House that fucking rape and kill children, and we're over here like, oh, but we got to obey the laws and peacefully protest. No, we fucking don't. France didn't do that, and guess what? They made changes. They whipped out a guillotine and were beheading people in the streets, which is what I think we need to start doing, because you know what? They're killing all of us. If they're not flat out shooting us in the back or shooting people of color in the back while saying, oh, we thought he had a gun, then they're killing us with not giving us health care, not listening, keeping us sick, as somebody else said, keeping us sick, keeping us weak. So we have to focus on that instead of focus on the bigger things, because we're just focused on survival. We're all in survival mode. Eve definitely was. And also, my sister was in the Army for 8 years. 8 years. She got nothing from that. Did she get free healthcare because of it? No. Did she get to go to college for free, which is the reason she joined the Army? No. She went to community college with me with a FAFSA, just like I did. The whole reason she went to the Army was to get that GI Bill, and she never got it. And everybody's like, that's impossible. Is it? Because she didn't fucking get it. Because, and when she passed away, like I had my girl Brooke that was doing her funeral and stuff, like reach out to get her like her veteran like number, whatever, you know, identification that they use for military benefits and stuff. And she has 3 kids. She was dealing with drug addiction. She died, you know, out of fucking nowhere. She already had gotten evicted. She was already homeless. And they said they could send a soldier with a folded flag to her funeral. That's shit. No money, no benefits, nothing for her kids. I told them where they could put that fucking flag. Let me tell you, I was like, do not fucking come here. That is what she got after 8 years of being in the military. And no doctors listening to her. Nobody fucking, this woman needed 3 blood transfusions and they still didn't take her serious. And this was all after COVID. This is all after COVID. Like, people get, like, was COVID a manufactured thing that they released? Oh, I could totally believe that. It doesn't mean the effects aren't true. The effects are real. Was it something planned that the government did? Probably, but it doesn't mean people didn't die. It doesn't mean people didn't hurt. It doesn't mean people don't have all these like Eve. One of the other things was she got fibromyalgia from. I don't even know how that relates, but like everybody has different weird. She's told me from your group, Amanda, that she's like telling me like everybody else's stories, like that it's everybody has all this different shit. Like no two cases are the same, which is fucking wild. So not only do we do this to people, then also we're like, oh yeah, you can't have healthcare either. Neat. And oh wait, you're a veteran too? Just kidding, you get nothing. And your kids get nothing. And that is literally, the pain is why she started using drugs, because she just could not get relief. I 100% blame the army and blame COVID and blame our government for keeping her in so much pain and feeling so helpless that she needed to do that for a touch of relief. And that is how she fucking died. I 100% blame them for that. 100 fucking percent. And like, I was already pissed. Now I'm even fucking more pissed. Like, if I wasn't going to slit people's throats before, I'm definitely going to do it now. And I'm going to wear her boots while I march through their blood. And that's it. Like, I don't care. Like, I told the man, I'm like, I'm not even crying. I'm not a sad day. Today is a fucking piss day. I want to go out there and fucking end some Nazi ass lives, because they ended my sister's life. So fuck them, you know? So so like I am, maybe not mentally, but I am physically healthy. I'm physically fine. I had COVID twice, both super mild cases, and I never had anything after that. Like 1, 2, the first time Eve and I got it was both mild for both of us. I got a fever for like 2 days and I felt really tired. And then after that, nothing. And then the second time was after I got the vaccine, and it just felt like I had like like sinus pressure for a day. And then after that, nothing. But I never had any effects after that, thankfully. So I am like, I am able-bodied and everything. I work part-time in a theater and I dance. And I just got kicked off of food stamps and Medicaid.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, so what did you tell? And they didn't tell me why. And I even went for an appeal and gave them all my proof. And then they said denied again, but they didn't say why. No, Trump's really going after blue states, first, especially Chicago, because he fucking hates us. But I'm like, there is no way I make too much money. Like, I'm well below the poverty line. And I just got kicked. I just had to have a mammogram. So now I have a $1,200 bill from that, because it just kicked me off. It was going to be free. Now, well, I'm never paying for it, so I don't care. But like that's how am I, who work part-time, how do I not qualify for Link and Medicaid? Like that, like every number, if you go by like, oh, what stipulations do you go by, at least in Chicago or in Illinois, whatever, I fall below all of them. So like I said, they're supposed to give you a reason. They didn't give me a reason. I even appealed it, and then they said I was denied again, but did not give me a reason why. So like, I can try to appeal it again, but I don't know what's going to change. My income has not changed. Not like I suddenly became independently wealthy. I don't know. Like, the system is definitely in place to keep the poor people poor, to keep sick people sick, to keep people down, to keep women down, to keep us quiet, to keep us in survival mode so we don't fight. But man, I've been in survival mode my entire life, but I'm a fighter anyway, because I am just that. I've always been this way. One of the biggest compliments of, even when my sister talked about me to other people, like, she's always like my strong, beautiful sister. And I love that she always put strong first. I love hearing it from other people. Like, they're just like, she thought you were so strong and she loved you so much because you just fought for her. Like, whatever, like, her ex-husband had a restraining order against me because I threatened his life. And I was like, whatever, because he was abusive, whatever. They asked me, they're like, did you threaten his life? I'm like, yeah. I don't care. Yeah, like, I will have to, I mean, it might take more than death to keep me quiet. I mean, even dying, don't think I'll probably be like a poltergeist or something
I
because
could see that. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and
I will
if people
I
had
will
known
raise
Eve,
hell.
like if people had known Eve and the sweet person she was, like this happened to her of all
Her.
people. She did all the right things.
She did. She really took
Oh my God.
every program, she did, like she went through the correct avenues, she asked the right questions, and still like, so it's like it's not about like she was lazy, because she wasn't lazy. Not about she was
No,
lazy or she didn't know what she was doing. Like she was like really on top of that shit.
She was.
Like she knew because she did the research. Like in the group, she's like, okay, this is what I have to ask. This, you know, even people in the group, like how you guys remember she was asking,
Yeah,
and you guys all talked about it. Like,
yeah.
what doctor should I go to? What questions should I ask? You know, stuff like that. She did everything, and still, like what else should she have fucking done? You know, like literally, like I told her before, I was like, you need to leave this fucking country. If she left this country, she'd still be fucking alive.
She would be.
She would be. So
I'm so glad you were here today, Camille. It was great seeing you, and that energy is everything.
I mean, listen, hey, I just went, so I do like, I practice witchcraft. I am a sex worker, which I just found out recently. I am now considered a domestic terrorist because I do sex. So
congratulations.
never knew that. Thanks. I never knew I was going to be a domestic terrorist, but here I am, I guess.
Oh God, I'm all over the internet with this stuff. So, well, thank you so much, Camille.
Yeah.
We're gonna go over to Jade now. Jade is another person who has. Thank you again. Jade is another person who has really been through the ringer, and I really appreciate how articulate she is with bringing her background to this, but also being able to see like how you take it away, Jade. You explain yourself, Jade.
Oh, Amanda. I have not heard your voice in a while, and I forgot, like, you've got the voice of an angel. And when I think of you and going back to that tent, I think I can't remember who said this to me one time, but they said, Jade, some people are so broke that all they have is money. And you're like the opposite of that, Amanda. You truly are. And I'm really happy to be here today with all of you and hear what everyone has to say. Um, I was not born in the United States. I came to the United States when I was 7 years old. I was born in England into a home of domestic violence, and we, came to the United States for a better life. And neither of my parents had graduated from high school, and I had decided I wanted to go to law school. I didn't have the money to go to law school, but I studied really hard for the LSAT, and I got a score that got me a full ride. And I went to law school in LA. I went to Pepperdine, and I worked really hard, and 2020 hit. And I remember the date because it was Easter. It was April 12th, 2020. And I remember feeling like I had been hijacked. Like my brain was no longer my brain. Something neurological was happening, something very strange was happening. And I was I think one of the first people at my school to get COVID. And they just kept telling me that I was going to get better and that everyone was getting better. And I felt like I was going insane until I was connected with Amanda. And thank goodness for Amanda, because you were a light in the dark and made me feel less crazy. And I realized that there was so many of us, and that, COVID disproportionately, long COVID in particular, disproportionately hits those of us that have a lot more taxing things on our nervous systems. And, so I went through the rest of law school primarily bedridden. And I have not had to use this, and this is a cane. I don't think you can see it because of my blur. I have not had to use that in months. And I no longer live in Los Angeles. I was there when the ice raids began. And I was also diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. And so, I was predominantly bedridden for about 4 years. I studied for the bar from my bed. I took that exam with 102-degree fever. I knew I was not getting better until I could afford to see a functional medicine doctor. Got diagnosed with Lyme. That is also a disease that is very hard to be treated for. It is not, chronic Lyme disease is not recognized by the CDC. So insurance does not cover it. I don't currently have insurance, but I know that when I did have insurance, I would have loved for them to cover my Lyme treatment. But I remember going through the tail end of law school and just thinking, like, I'm disabled. I am everything in this world that a lawyer is not supposed to be. I am everything about the workforce that a lawyer is not supposed to be. You know, it's taboo to have health issues. It's taboo to have this. It's taboo to have that. And somehow I ended up working, it just kind of lined up that I ended up working in employment law. And suddenly, everything that I thought was my biggest weakness became my greatest strength because I was working with marginalized populations who were not centered in society, who fell into the margins, and they were being terminated from their jobs because they were sick, they were disabled, their sexual orientation, because they had gone on maternity leave. And I had gone from the working class to becoming a lawyer, and I understood my clients in a way that I never could have foresaw. And so I often think today, you know, when I'm about to go into a space, I think about what somebody once told me, which is, you know, Jade, it's not your job to be, if you work really hard to get to a table of power in life, it's not your job to be like everybody else at that table. It's your job to be like everybody that can't get to the table, that doesn't get to have a voice at the table. And if that means people don't like you or they don't like what you have to say, then so be it, because that's your job. And I take that job seriously. I do. I get to continue to represent people that fall into the margins today. And what I've learned is when one part of you contracts, another part of you expands. And those of us that have disabilities, those of us that have marginalizing characteristics, you know, we might not be able to show up in the world in one particular way, but we often show up far more deeply in another way. You know, it's not a surprise that a man who could not speak or leave his wheelchair took us to the far reaches of outer space. Or I believe his name was Ben Underwood. I want to say his name was Ben Underwood. He was a cyclist and he was able to cycle through the woods using echolocation. And so there's that depth that we get when we are different, and whatever part of us that, you know, doesn't belong actually gets brought forward instead of disowned and hidden in the back. That's our power today, and that's my power today. And you know, I was living in Los Angeles and I kept getting told like to regulate my nervous system. And I just got to the point where I was like, can like this society regulate itself? Because I think that I'm tired of being pathologized. I think my nervous system is reacting to a dysregulated society and a dysregulated healthcare system. And like, can we retrain our politicians? Like, I'm over here doing nervous system retraining. Can we retrain our politicians and our doctors and healthcare and education? Because I don't think I'm the problem. I think my nervous system's actually having a very normal response to a completely abnormal society. And you know, have been diagnosed with many illnesses and disabilities and long COVID, chronic Lyme. I had about 11 infections by the time I did get to that functional medicine doctor because my immune system was so weak that it had just been collecting infections. And I'm very fortunate today that I really don't walk with a cane and that I get to speak and I get to be at a table with all of you today. So thank you, Amanda. I am honored that you invited me here.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We've been through a lot together. I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. And I'm not sure if Gerda made it in or not. So Eric is an old friend of mine. It's hard to believe we go back this far, but Eric, bring your merry self to the front. Hello.
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
I am so fabulous, and I love the maroon.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I felt like it was a maroon day today. So
it very much is, yes.
But no, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here among such great company. I'm thrilled to see. I did not know, I was not following what's going on in Missouri, but it sounds like a real party down there, and that is friggin' amazing to hear about. It's inspirational. It's exciting. Bethany, I was not previously familiar with the piece of work that is Representative Bob Onder, but now I am, and oh my friggin' God, okay. Well, that guy has to be stopped, actually. But yes, thank you for fighting the fight down there. Thank you to anybody in Missouri. If I could vote for you guys, I absolutely would. I'm up in Illinois. Maybe there's still time to travel and get residency. I don't know. You'll have to tell me. And Emily, what Emily said about mutual aid, it's really powerful. It's really critical. I need to know more about opportunities and where we can make that happen. I know when Katie spoke, I wrote down sort of notes for everybody, so I have responses, but I share a lot of Katie's concerns, especially about the world we're leaving for our children. And the trend of where things are going and where things come or are going to come to in America. And also, Katie, I need those earrings. Please let me know where you got those, the guillotine earrings. I need them. Please just post a link, please. I will order them right away. I love what Catherine was saying and about the American dream and remembering when things were better. And no, I don't remember what it was like to be able to afford a house on a single family income, but I'd love to know. I'd love to experience that before the end of my life. I'd love to see America get back to that. And I love what Herzl was saying. Camille, I didn't know about Turkey. I've been sleeping on Missouri. I've been sleeping about Turkey for dental care. If I could have been getting this amazing dental care in a different country just by traveling outside of the country, why didn't I know about this? I got to know everything about Turkey. So please tell me more about that. Also, one terrorist to another, and one Chicago terrorist to another. I think it's high time we remove that stupid man's name off of his building down in Chicago. It has been an eyesore since before he started running for president the first time. So for more than 10 years now, it's ruined every photograph that I've ever tried to take of the Chicago skyline. And we don't even need to be successful at getting the whole name down, even though removing his name from buildings is hip right now this week, which is great. But if we just took down the T, the rest of the humiliation for saying rump across the Chicago skyline, I think would be enough to do the rest. Let's get some rope. I will meet you down there. We got to figure it out. For Jade, I love what you said. One part of us contracts, another part expands. It's extremely important, and I think we do need to retrain the politicians to recognize that what we thought is our problem of anxiety and all of these comorbidities and all of this health stuff with us as being our problem, when in fact it's a normal response to an abnormal world. I completely agree with what you're saying. I'm not running for office myself. I'm running to continue to be able to feed my cat and live happily. And as long as I can do that, I'm happy. But I'm not going to settle for just that. So I prepared a short essay here. It's things I have learned about America. And it's growing up, I saw America as a great country. And why not? Everybody has freedom. There's a path to citizenship for non-citizens. Everybody who wants to can have the white picket fence. We've got Hollywood, America. We're the envy of the world. And it wasn't until I spent a little bit of time outside of America that I began to see how we were viewed by others, like bullies, like an empire, a behemoth, sure, but one that was not quite the beacon of hope, freedom, and goodwill that I once thought. This was 20 years ago. And since that time and my return to the country, there have been moments that challenge that view of America, that negative view. I've seen really great moments of hope. Living in Chicago when Barack Obama was elected on a platform of change was so powerful. There was nothing like that energy the morning after in Chicago that I'll keep with me my whole life. Things really have felt like they were going in the right direction, the legalization of gay marriage. Like there were times when America has surprised me. And then there were times since that, especially the last 10 years, that absolutely have done the opposite. And there was so much that I had to learn about America of the recent past. Even the America that I had grown up in believing was amazing, learning about America from points of view and communities that weren't my own was a crucial part of growing up. It was at a house party in Chicago when I first heard the term redlining, and how since the 1930s, low-income and minority communities were intentionally cut off from lending, investment, how the mostly homogenous communities I grew up in were shaped that way by policy, by politics, and by people who did not believe in equality, from people who did not believe in the rights of others and did not believe in lifting up communities the way that I did. They did not believe or were practicing the America that I saw, and realizing that America had not been perfect and that my very reality was shaped by the poor policies of the past was a real kind of sobering growth for me. And it wasn't until COVID happened that the vision of America really unraveled for me, when I saw criminals and opportunists obtain platforms of immense power or influence. They used them to sow doubt in science and healthcare. When I watched the complete asshat president of the United States downplay, diminish, and crush the country's epidemic response, when I saw masks become politicized, when I saw permission be given for U.S. citizens to openly not care about other citizens, I don't know exactly when I realized that, like, long before COVID, it had often been that exact same way for certain people in America. The entire act of not caring about your fellow people who are in our country, who share our same needs, fellow citizens, fellow humans, it was always permissible to certain groups of people in America when I was growing up. And part of why this was tolerated, I think I found, was because a lot of it was swept under the rug. And there's that saying, democracy dies in darkness. And I want to say before the internet, there was a lot more darkness, or it felt that way. My generation's greatest fortune might be getting to witness the internet, getting to see the power of information, of community, how the internet brings people together, how people who grew up in communities feeling like alone in their community were able to find that they were not alone, and the power of the internet to do that, which is still there. The internet still has this power. And for many of us, we may not feel strong. We may not feel like we'd be any good in a fist fight or a bar fight. But what we have is our hearts, our minds, and the tremendous organizational power of the internet. And I didn't realize how much I needed the internet until I started to question my gender a few years ago, and the comfort that I found, the community that I found, the resources that I found helped me not only to feel not alone, but normal, natural, empowered. And still there were more things I had to learn about America and its past around queer people, like how in the AIDS crisis, how so many resources were not spent saving the lives of the victims of that crisis and saving the lives of a community who was conveniently dismissed and treated as less than, how much more we could have done if it weren't for the same types of division and rhetoric that we're seeing now applied to many of us en masse, us fellow terrorists. How, the game book has changed, but the rules of this, the methods are still being employed. And it's been a journey. So every time I continue to learn how imperfect America was, both before I was born or when I was young, it adds fuel to my personal fire. It shows me how much we have ahead of us, but rather than feel overwhelmed by having another thing to fix, I feel grateful that it's never been clearer to us how much there is to do. The folks in power, the absolute clowns running the show right now, have gravely miscalculated us. The billionaire tech CEOs who showed so much disdain over the last couple of years for their own workers. They continue to remove protections after protections and union bust and worsen the quality of our life for all of us. They've gravely miscalculated. They've shown their hand. I heard a charitable thing about Donald Trump recently. Absolutely shocking, I know. But it was that of all the things he is and all the things he's done to America, he cannot help but expose every system he has a hand in being a part of. The ways in which the government has rewarded the untalented, they prize loyalty over qualification. These are crystal clear to us now, these concepts. The way in which he operates, they're easily demonstrable in every bumbling thing he does and how he's behaved. The problems of America have been laid bare in a way that I don't think we ever could have hoped for them to be before MAGA came along. The Epstein class, the way it was and continues to be shielded from accountability and protection, but the very existence of it and the machinations of it, how it ran for so many decades and all the harm that it caused, all of this is now known to us. All of this is now clear as day, and our path forward is clear. These are things, we have so much to do, so much more to do than I ever expected to have to do, so much work politically, to so many things, but the path is clear. And something that I question about this whole revolution that clearly needs to occur is what my place in it is. I don't know. We may not ourselves know. We may not think we're useful in a revolution. We may not think we're good in a fist fight, like I said earlier. But I believe that we have our hearts, we have our minds, we have the spark, and given enough organization, calls just like this one, Amanda, that you're doing, I believe that given enough, we will begin to understand how we can use our power, how we can use our voice, how we can use our fire where it matters the most. And that is what I look to in organizations like this. And one thing I can't particularly stand by on is this revisionist history that's being attempted, the erasing of the past, the removal of the proof of all the sins of America's past that I spent a lifetime learning, just ignoring it and wanting to shove it back under the rug. No, we can't let that happen. We have to remember, we have to preserve the knowledge, we have to talk openly about how America was imperfect. We have to talk about how we are imperfect. We have to confront the biases of the past, because when the tide changes, we have to hold everyone accountable, and we have to hold ourselves, America. We have to hold ourselves accountable to build the America we grew up believing was real. The parts that were once real that Catherine remembers, we have to bring those good things back. We have to build the things that we always thought were true and make it even better. And we have the entire path ahead on how to do that is very clear in a way that is very uniquely not been, I think, historically for us. So just to wrap up, here are a few truths that I now believe to be 100% true. And by a few, I mean actually three. This is no particular order. Number one, any politician or anyone at all who tells you something is just the way it is hasn't finished profiting off of the status quo. The past is no reason not to fight for better conditions for the future. We can't settle. When the time comes, we need to push past anyone saying something is just the way it is. Two, there's a quote that I've looked up, and it's attributed to American civil rights and women's voting activist Fannie Lou Hamer. She said, "No one is free until we are all free." And this has never been more clear to me than right now. What's happening with the U.S. government imprisoning people under the guise of immigration enforcement, the disappearing of people with no violent history to foreign countries or local warehouses with zero health care, zero accountability. Until we fight to remove this horrible stain from our country, we cannot have a country that is in any way worth being proud of. And the third and final thing I have here is a truth that I now believe in 100%. Eat the rich. That's it. Thank you, everybody. It's really, I am pleased to be part of this group here. Thank you so very much, Amanda.
Oh, thank you, Eric. Yeah, it's hard to believe we've known each other almost 20 years now, and We know what to do. We've read all the dystopian fiction. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
That's right. So up next, we've got Sherry, followed by Dana and Fred, and then I will close it out, okay? Sherry, go for it. I am so glad you are here. I miss your face. Got yourself unmuted there?
Okay.
There you are. Hey.
Hi. Yeah. No, this is my first time and I don't really know what I'm doing. And I'm really nervous, so bear with me. Okay.
My, how the tables have turned.
He goes, thank you, Amanda, for inviting me. And I was asking her, why would you invite me to speak? And she said, because my opinion and my experiences were worth being heard. And I thought, okay, sure. But yeah, uh, my name is Sherry, and I'm a federal worker. And I met Amanda at the job. And I'm not sure what was impressive when you met me, but apparently, I guess I stuck in your head. And well, I'm not a long COVID person, but I do live with chronic pain. And I am a cane user, and that's just the way it is. I'm a single parent to an adult child. He has autism, and he also has a very rare genetic disorder, which I'm not sure if Amanda knows this. Or, hmm?
I know, I didn't know that.
Yes, he has a rare genetic disorder, and it's called Peutz-Jeghers syndrome.
Okay.
If you've never heard of it, then don't be surprised. It's listed as a rare disorder, and basically, he's missing a genetic component that prevents tumor growth in his body. So he is literally, I do believe, it's like 50% more likely to develop cancers of any and all kinds. And he's already had one form. Sorry, here comes my cat. So he's already had one kind, and they didn't tell me this when he had it when he was about 4 years old, testicular cancer, which is highly unusual for a child to get testicular cancer. I didn't know it was actually cancer until he transitioned to his adult physician, and we were just at a medical appointment to get checked in and everything, and he just says, "Oh well, with this kind of cancer," and I'm like, "Wait a minute." So what do you mean? And he says, "Well, yeah, this is a type of cancer that he had, and for the condition he has, he's more likely to get uh, intestinal, usually the small intestine or the large intestine. He's had multiple upper and lower GIs, multiple polyps removed. So you're getting the idea that he's very medically expensive, to put it mildly. And that's not even including the autism and such. So I used to be a reporter, but I went into federal service because, like the young lady who mentioned before, I remember when you have challenges in life, you go to a federal job because there's security, there's safety, there's a union, there's a set schedule, and you have protections, and you can depend on this job. Not anymore. Okay. And I know that it hasn't been in the headlines so much now, but they are still attacking federal workers pretty much on a daily basis. Looking at my notes, I was hired, and oh yeah, I'm only speaking for myself, not representing the IRS. So I just want to get that out there. But I got hired at the IRS in 2008 under Obama. I did not have medical insurance going in. I was going through a divorce too. So I had medical insurance under my now ex-husband, but I knew going to a federal job, I was going to get medical insurance eventually. And Obama passed the Affordable Care Act, and that instantly made everybody that was in federal service, regardless of how long, got medical insurance that day. And it was great. As soon as it passed, once it was official and everything. So that's one of the reasons why I was in federal service. I am in federal service, but also my mother was in federal service. My sister's in federal service now. I've had many uncles and aunts so it's a family thing for us that, if things get difficult, this is a place you can go and depend on the job to be good to you. But when that I hate saying his name, when that man came into the presidency, it was like he was attacking us then too, but people just didn't hear too much about it, back in 2016. And one of the things he did that I distinctly remember was that he manipulated our paychecks so that we would get more on our paychecks. But what he did was he stopped taking the withdrawals for things like, I do believe it was Social Security and Medicaid. So those are mandated to be paid. And when COVID hit and many people quit, my mother included, they got a bill for the money that he authorized them not to take. And we couldn't opt out of it. So my mother got a $700 bill to pay into Social Security and Medicaid because of what he did while he's lying to us and telling us that, oh, well, you got a raise. No, we didn't. So to be honest, some people in federal service were happy to vote for him and thought he would be great. And I was done with him when he made fun of the disabled reporter because I already knew what train track we were on, especially with my son. So I'm like, no, I couldn't believe that they were being sucked into this. I don't know what that was. But so then this time around, when Doge came in, they were horrible, and we knew they would be horrible, like day one. And there's so much that they were doing to make things so uncomfortable is a nice way of putting it, but just the stress levels of so many people. There are people now suffering from serious stress related illnesses because of all the attacks on us. One of the first things they did was we needed to write an email every week with the 5 things we did. And nobody was reading these things because the email box that we were sending to filled up, and then our emails began to bounce. It was really not very well organized. It was all designed just to freak us out, scare us. And many people took the voluntary leave, whatever, I can't remember what it was called, where you would quit and then they pay you for another 6 or 7 months or whatever. I know some people who took it and some of them never got paid. And I know personally one lady who got fired. If you didn't take it, they were threatening to fire you or say reduction in force, which is riffing. And one lady literally got fired 3 days before her year where she would leave her probationary period. So it's just, you hear about all these things. I have another friend who was fighting pancreatic cancer. Yeah. Yeah. And she had to leave on disability. And they've just recently contacted her to tell her that she got paid too much for the unused leave. And now she has to pay that back. And she's already very financially strapped because her husband has colon cancer and she has a teenage daughter. So these kind of things, I never heard of them happening to people growing up. And my family was in federal service. We're already very well taken care of. So the Doge people, and nobody in this administration wants to say it, but my opinion, Doge completely failed. They didn't save us money. They terrorized people. They cut the forces, and people, government agencies are struggling now because so many people left, so many people were fired, and they know they need these people because now the IRS is trying to hire people. And frankly, I would not advise anybody to take a government job right now. Yeah, I'd say give it a couple years. Maybe, when they start cleaning this mess up. A third of the IRS left. And now people, including myself, are working like 2 or 3 jobs. Like they took our unit clerk away. So now I'm covering for the unit clerk. I was a temporary manager at the time when the guy started doing all this stupid stuff with the government service. And I ended up having to be the work leader and the manager for a time. Yeah. Sorry.
I know how much she does.
Yeah. And all this with trying to help the new people not be terrorized and help them to get used to doing the work and such. Yeah, gotta excuse her. She's old. Yes, yes, she's 20 years old. Yeah, this is so she does what she wants. And it was very difficult because so many people just got scared and left. And I can't say I blame them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and things aren't much better now because someone mentioned, can't remember who it was, maybe it was Eric, mentioned the union busting.
Yep.
Oh, they are dead set on union busting. It just executive order was issued, and so now they just don't recognize the union. So they've and then the next thing they went after was alternative work schedule. And some people would rather work 4 10s instead of 5 8s and such. And they got rid of that. The union got it back for us. So what they did was they oh god, something blinked off on the screen. So what they did was they moved forward with it's in court now, and the court said they can move ahead with uh, whatever plans they had. So they officially stopped recognizing the union, and they've taken out all the bulletin board stuff, all the union material off of the tables, everything. Managers are telling us, well, you don't have a union anymore. And everything that's going to go to like labor relations. So if you get in trouble, you're more likely to get fired.
Yep.
And so the union has been fighting back. And what they did was they started doing like special lunches on Wednesday to come out and they were giving out like pins and stuff. And also like a little card saying, "Hey, I am union proud," and such. So you can put them on your desk. Then they just issued an email saying you're not allowed to have this kind of literature on your desks either. So now the union's saying wear your T-shirts, and I suspect they're probably going to say stop wearing your T-shirts too. But it's still in litigation. So every time my manager would say, "Well, you know, you don't have a union," I'd say it's still in court. so don't write them off yet. They're still around, and they officially made us non-bargaining unit so that they can try and do this. They want to change our rating so that instead of being just exceeds fully successful, which gets you a bonus because it always goes down to money. Then everybody's just going to only be able to reach a 3, which is just fully successful, which is average. So there's a lot of stuff going on to keep us from getting the money we earn. And a lot of people in federal service really are dedicated to doing a good job. You know, they want to make sure things are done correctly and they just want to be treated fairly and well, you know, which is what we expected. But with all the cuts and such, I've been reading, I can't find where they got the statistic, but they said basically 300,000 Black women like myself have lost their jobs. Yeah, and I grew up uh, during the Reagan era where they coined that phrase of welfare queens, and we know what they meant.
Yeah.
So federal service was a way for Black women to take care of their families as single parents without having to depend on federal service. Social services, which there's no shame in that. My mother was on welfare. My mother lived in public housing. You know, I was there. I was there with her, and we had food stamps. So she worked very hard working for the post office to get us out of public housing and off of those social services. So this is a way for all poor people or any single mother to really get ahead because, you know, it was very reliable. And now they're taking that away from you. Then they want to take away other social services and food stamps and such. It's like this whole administration just does not care about the working person. And it's astonishing to me and very depressing. So,
Yeah.
yes. So, but I do want to say, you know, we have to hang in there. You can't let the bastards get you down. I watch a lot of Handmaid's Tale. So, and the union is still fighting, and that inspires me to keep on fighting too. Even though there are days I do get very depressed, you know, like have to go. My son has a doctor's appointment tomorrow where, you know, has to go see his new oncologist because he's just at a greater risk of getting cancer. And that's just the way it is. That's the lot he was given. And it's my lot to take care of him and make sure he's healthy. So that's basically what I just wanted to say. You have to keep working. And I believe one day things will be better and we will win. You can say hi to Max.
Well, say hi to everyone for me, and just know that even though I'm not in the house, I'm still fighting for you. But
Okay. Yes.
You knew that.
Yes, I
Thank you so
do.
much, Sherry. We're gonna skip over to Fred. Fred, take it away, and Dana will get to you next. Okay?
Sorry, Dana, I have to cut in. My beautiful fiance leaves tomorrow morning, and I better say goodbye to her, or I'll be in trouble. I am Fred Wellman, and as you've heard, among my many hats right now, I'm running for Congress in Missouri's second congressional district as Democrat against 13 Republican Ann Wagner. I am also a host of the Midas Touch Network of a podcast, and I'm very blessed to know Catherine's sister very well, and a few other folks on here, and Amanda and everyone else. Bethany, very proud of you. I hate the idea of following Hartzell Gray or anyone else for that matter. I will try not to inspire you too much. I know it's late, and I do want to be brief. My experiences as a 22-year Army combat veteran. I graduated from West Point, and I did 4 combat tours and retired to the Pentagon in 2020. I spent 10 years as a veterans advocate. In 2020, I got a strange call from a friend of mine who was driving to New York City to run a COVID field hospital staffed by Army Special Operations medical veterans. And I said, that's a terrible idea, as one would. And she said, yeah, funny thing, we forgot to hire any admin people. Do you know anybody who could do admin in New York? And when she described the job to me and I told my now fiance, she said something, she's classic Heather. She said, that's you. And 2 days later, I was driving to New York City to run a COVID field hospital. And I watched in real time as a global pandemic unfolded. Not as a medical professional. My job was everything what we called outside the bubble. We had a positive pressure bubble where our patients were kept, and I handled the staffing and the feeding and the paying and the feeding and everything else. And I remember mornings where we'd have a medical meeting and discover something called the COVID toe that day, or we would watch patients come out of our hospital looking 20 years older. I sat there when we did a very brilliant thing, or my colleague did. We actually brought a social worker with us, and she would come out of the bubble and come to my office for her treatment with me crying. I remember specifically one day she came to me, and there was a gentleman who was getting ready to be discharged, and his wife had died while they were in the hospital. Um, they had left 5 cats behind their apartment in New York City when they were evacuated from their apartment. At that point, it had been 5 weeks. He knew what he was going home to, and he didn't want to go, and it broke our hearts. So seeing up close and personally in that way the COVID battle in the early stages when it was still much of a mystery, and it still is, as so many of you on this call know already, mystery. So to watch that, and then I transitioned actually to running a thing called the Lincoln Project. If you're familiar with it, that was the anti-Trump organization. I spent the better part of the 2020 campaign as the veterans advocate for them, trying to convince my fellow veterans not to vote for Trump a second time. Proud to say that 6% of them didn't, who had voted for him the first time. And then I volunteered to be the executive director just in time for them to do their thing. And I spent a year trying to unscrew that mess. But having said that, I've helped others run for Congress, and now I'm running for Congress because we do face a moment. And I'll tell the story briefly. The reason I'm running for Congress relates to this conversation exactly. And it is a year ago now, coming up the last weekend of June. And many of you may remember that the last week of June last year, the big billionaire bill was being debated by the United States Senate after the U.S. House had cut much of that strong floor that we need as Americans, Medicaid, SNAP, and other benefits. If you remember, the United States Senate felt that didn't argue to cut enough, and the Senate wanted to cut more. And Donald Trump wanted his big bill before July 4th weekend. So they were arguing through the last weekend of June to cut more. And one of the things they talked about a lot was this mythical 27-year-old men who were laying around playing video games on their couches. Remember that conversation? Like they were getting free health care. And at the time, my son was 27. He was a bartender in Richmond, Virginia, at a very expensive oyster bar and didn't offer health care. And so when he had gone into ACA window in October, that previous October, he qualified for Medicaid. So I knew personally that there wasn't young men getting free healthcare and were being lazy and laying around. I knew my own 27-year-old young man was working his ass off and had a shoulder injury from repetitive shaking at cocktails, for God's sake. And to see our United States representatives smearing them and disrespecting Americans who are struggling like you all and like so many in this call, and so many might watch this tape later, angered me. But here's the split screen. You may also remember that weekend was Jeff Bezos's $56 million wedding in Venice, where he had purchased one of the most beautiful cities on earth. And his friends, the Kardashians and others, had flown over and were waving at us little people. Don't you remember the carriages pulling up and there's this Kardashians, telling us little people. And I remember looking at my TV or the clips, seeing on one side smug ass Ted Cruz and that son of a bitch Eric Schmidt from St. Missouri smearing good people, and the other side of it is billionaires partying and laughing at the same time. And when that bill passed, the largest transfers wealth from the bottom 20% to the top 10% in history. 10% of the population accounts for 49% of all consumer spending. We know that healthcare now here in my district in Missouri too, a 6-year-old couple on the ACA saw their rates go up from over 299% in 1 month. We know that people are dropping off. They keep talking about how they've graduated 4 million kids and people off of SNAP when you and I know on this call they've kicked children off the most minimum basic food nutrition case they need. And so we face a moment in America where they want us to be scared. They want us to be intimidated. And they don't want us to fight. And as you guys know, the theme of this course was that obedience is not patriotism. I'm a patriot. I don't have to pretend. Like people ask me all the time, in my seat, like, Fred, you got a lot of Republicans in your district. How you, every time I speak, every town hall, I know Bethany faces the same thing in her district even more so because hers is redder than mine. Like, Fred, how are you going to convince those MAGA people to come over? And I always tell them, I'm not. I'm not. I don't have to. There's always going to be 32% of people who think Donald Trump's a god because they're dedicated to that belief. But a lot of Americans are struggling right now. We just had a poll come out showing it clearly. We win rural voters. We win independents because they see the cold, hard reality of life has settled in that Donald Trump and the Republican doormat Congress. I joke a lot. Truman's from Missouri, so we're all Missourians. A lot of us are Missourians here. Truman had his Republican do nothing Congress when he ran for president in 1949. I call ours the Republican doormat Congress because they just lay there at the door and get walked across and have people wipe their feet on them. They're not even an obstacle. They're just a place where people can spit on them and wipe the mud on them. Well, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and of course Donald Trump and his family manipulate everything and ignore it. And so it is time for us to stop being intimidated in advance. And the most shocking things I discovered, and I decided to run for Congress, as I started calling people in my district, I heard demoralization. Fred, you're not gonna. Ann can't be beat. Ann Wagner can't be beat. Oh, what are we gonna do? You're never gonna convince those people out in the western part of the district. And I'm gonna tell you, folks, you know, I'm a Ted Lasso guy, right? I picked this studio instead of my counter. I have a studio for my race. This is my podcast studio, you know. And I told him, I said, look, this bullshit. You're being obedient in advance. You're surrendering in advance. This is like me standing at the border of Iraq. I invaded Iraq twice, not just once. I liked it so much I did it twice for your United States government. And as the food, I love kebab. But having said that, it was if I had stood at the border of Iraq and said to my soldiers, "Look, guys, that's the fourth biggest army in the world. They're battle tested. They just fought a war with Iran for 8 years. We might not win." No, I didn't say that because I trusted the machines that were built for us. I trusted the training. I trusted my leadership. I trusted my soldiers to do the right thing and go and fight the battle. And I trust what we've built here. I trust this moment we face, the people on this call and the people who aren't on this call, hopefully will watch the videotape of it later, or they'll watch my friend Hartzell Gray, they'll watch Bethany Man. I believe in the people we have in front of us to seize this moment and to take over this country and take it back because they see the cold hard reality. And the polls are telling us, but look, I don't need polls. I don't need polls. The great thing about being an army officer is you can walk into a room, do this and go, morale's shit. It's a special secret sauce you get. You can walk into a tent and go, "Oh shit, this is bad," or "Oh man, things are good." I remember the night before we invaded Iraq, the second time, and my unusual Black Hawk unit. If you see this helicopter, I had Black Hawks in the 101st Airborne. And we walked into the tent. We also had an infantry platoon, which is a long story. And we walked into the tent. My battalion commander, a colonel, and me as a major, we walked in. These kids, these young men were having basically a party. You know, I mean, they were dancing. I'm not going to tell you what they were dressed in. Essentially, G strings with parachute cord. It was the weirdest shit I've ever seen in my life. And I said to the boss, I said, I think we're good. These guys are good. Let's go visit the other soldiers because I don't want to see what is going on in this tent. And it's the same way now. You gotta believe. You know what's happening. We had 4,000 people on the major artery that goes through my district in a thunderstorm, you guys. Lightning bolts were striking the ground for No Kings 2, and they were out there. If we take that energy, we harness the energy and take it in the election, we will take this country back. And it's not going we're not going to do it by being obedient. We're not going to talk about hugging it out. Look, I'm not going to Washington, D.C. to hug it out with Jim Jordan or Lauren Boebert. What we need to do is banish them into the wilderness. And when the Republican Party is ready to be a part of society again, I will welcome them back with open arms. But at this point, we must win. And that takes work. And that takes the hard work of everybody. So if you've stepped up in this way, if you've stepped up on No Kings, if you stepped on your podcast that drops a lot of F-bombs like me, Catherine, I love you for it. If you're doing that like Bethany running or Hartsel Gray running in a tough district, if all of you guys who've survived so much, you've got podcasts like me or the work you're doing or Amanda organizing, step up in your little place. If it means dialing, calling people, if it means sending postcards, God damn it, if it means standing on the side of the road with your favorite candidate's signs and waving them, I'll buy the donuts. But get your ass in the fight in some way, and we will win. And we will win because I believe, and so do you. And so, with that, I'm going to go say goodnight to my beautiful fiance and send her off to Boston tomorrow. I hate to leave you all, but I do very, very much appreciate the opportunity, Amanda. I'm always here for you. I'm always here for all of you. If you need anything at all, we will win. Believe it. Now and not hope it's not a strategy. If we kick ass and we do the work, we'll win. I promise you. So, thank you for this moment to chat with you guys. Thank you, Amanda, for the opportunity. So lovely seeing so many of you, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.
Thanks so much, Fred. You take care.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell Heather hi. All right. So we've got Dana, and then I will close it out. Dana, bring your merry self here. Dana and I go way back to the Magic House in Kirkwood, Missouri. Oh, yeah. You here, Dana?
Yeah, sorry, I was having some issues with Zoom on my phone.
There you
Hi
are.
guys, I'm Dana. I'm a children's mental health care worker. I've been working in children's mental health for about a decade now, a little bit over. But I've worked in mostly with disadvantaged youth. I worked in a teen shelter for a while. Of course, at the Magic House where I met Amanda, which I would say is not normally disadvantaged kids, especially if they have that expensive membership. But after that, yeah, I got into working with more disadvantaged youth, like I said, homeless, foster care. And now I'm a mental health clinician, kind of a combination of a caseworker, a life coach, and a counselor for kids aged 5 to 18 who are on Medicaid over in Belleville, Illinois. I've been doing that for almost a year now. And I just want to talk about, the importance of mental health care. And also like, especially for the younger people, especially for kids, like if our kids are already really, really struggling, I'm sure everyone has seen videos of kids attempting to read online and all of those sorts of things and the pictures of handwriting of seventh graders. It's like the kids out there are really struggling, so we need to make sure we're supporting them however we can. And I think one of those ways that's really important is even if you have a child and you aren't on any sort of Medicaid or anything like that, just making sure that you can be as competent as you can and like learn what a coping skill is and learn how to teach those to your kids. They're as easy as like deep breaths sometimes. And also be aware of the resources around you. I know I got a bunch of 3D printed like little fidgets at the library. I know not every area has a library like that, but mine does. So if anyone needs anything like that, I'm totally willing to chip in and get it it shipped to you because I live up in St. Louis and we got a great library here. But yeah, just making sure we're taking care of ourselves. You can't fight the system and fight the evil if you are completely burnt out, if you are too depressed to get out of bed, if you're too anxious. So we got to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and each other. I say community is a really important thing right now. Spend time with the people you love. It's like even in a setting like this, even if it's virtual, it's just absolutely crucial to like fill your life with as much joy as you can in the in between of, working and fighting the good fight and all that. And there are resources out there. If anyone needs, help, resources, you can always contact me. I'll have Amanda share my email out. But there's always resources out there, even if they're just online, even if they're just things you can do by yourself. There's apps that are free. There's many, many things other than just therapy and medication that can help you. And when there are times that there are therapy and medication that you need, um, as I couldn't remember her name, but as she said earlier, we're not paying medical bills anyway. So it's important if you need the help, you need to get it. I can give an example. My brother is a sailor up in Port Townsend, Washington. He does not have insurance. He lives on a boat. He has 3 part-time jobs. And he is going through it right now. He just bought a boat. It got broken by someone who wasn't him on his first sail. He's very frustrated. He kicked his chimney into the ocean the other day on accident. He's having a hard time. But I have been, helping out where I can. Like, okay, let's send me your social, send me your address. Let's get you signed up for state care. He's up in Washington. They have that there. So like, let's get you on state care. And I sent him like, emergency behavioral health center. And I told him at the end of the day, like these medical bills, most hospitals are nonprofits and most nonprofits have what's called charity care, which is something that help you get your bill down to a level that you can manage. I've used it myself before. I had a sterilization surgery in 2022 that I was told was going to be free, and then I got a bill for about $8,000. Obviously, social worker can't really afford that. So I was able. It took about 6 months, unfortunately, but I was able to get it down to where I only had to pay $1,000, which I only had to pay $25 a month. I know that is a lot, but fortunately, I was able to handle it at the time. So there's always charity care. Many places have sliding scale if you don't have insurance, and you can get sessions as low as like $10 a session, especially for kids. Many people who are in my field, just especially with working with kids, we just want those kids to be happy and healthy and grow up in a safe space. Um, but in that same thing, safe space, it's important to like that kids know what's going on in the world around them, but also not to like burden them too much with things that are heavy. Like they don't need to know every intricate detail of everything going on in the whole world. You can give them like the Cliff Notes version and be like, yeah, things are bad, but like we're gonna make it better, and keep that hope up in them. But I definitely see a lot of kids who are very like burdened by the world around them, and of course, unfortunately, some kids we just can't avoid that with, especially with our government acting the way it is, about LGBTQIA people. I know I have trans clients, I have immigrant clients, and there's not a lot I can do to make them always feel 100% safe. But what you can do is you can make yourself a safe person for a young person and let them know that you're fighting on their side and that you're there for them. Be that person who is correcting people's pronouns. That nonchalant way, like, hey, that person uses he, him, especially for children. That can make such a difference in their lives. I can tell you, I have a parent who sent her son to me. She didn't believe he was trans. And we left our 6 month update, and she has been using his name and he, him pronouns ever since. Just like being that other adult who can be there and be like, no, I see your child and I see what they're going through. And even if you don't have kids yourself, being kind to the kids around you and letting them know, like, I can be a safe adult for you. If something as scary is happening to you, you can tell me and I will help you. And there are many different ways you can help. I know that in Illinois, at least, DCFS, which is Department of Children and Family Services, which is involved in the foster care system, but they also have programs to keep families together. They also have programs that will help families with getting on Medicaid, getting food stamps, doing all that they can to make sure that families stay united and foster care doesn't have to get involved. The purpose of foster care is reunification. And while it's not always possible, it often is. Many cases of DCFS cases have to do with poverty, and so connecting parents with resources. Um, DCFS or whatever it's called in your state, like they most of the time they have some sort of program for families that are struggling, and it's different everywhere. I know where I work in Illinois, they provide you a caseworker. They get you connected with like one of the local certified behavioral health centers, which is where I work at a certified behavioral health center. And they'll just really, like help lead you through it. But that I don't know if that's available in every state. I really hope it is. I know it is in Missouri and in Illinois. But it's really important, like I said, now that we're like taking care of our young people, because they are growing up in a very violent and turbulent world. And I'm on the younger side. I'll say I was born in the late 90s, but like I still grew up with like a lot going on around me and just everything these kids have to do. I mean, they are so traumatized by even just going to school. Like even that is a scary occurrence, having to do those intruder drills and having to know that like someone could just walk into your school and hurt you is a very scary thing. And there's a lot of other things going on. There's a lot of pressure from these schools to do well on state testing. There's a lot of pressure because there's just not enough help at all the public schools. There are good districts out there that are well funded, but there's a lot like the inner city schools in St. Louis are not very well funded. And if I'm correct, which I believe I am, SLPS, which is St. Louis Public Schools, the school district in the inner city of St. Louis is about to lose their accreditation for the second time in 10 years because of underfunding. They don't have enough teachers, they have too many students. They have a bunch of magnet and charter schools that are just like, I don't want to speak badly on them, but like especially the magnet schools. I worked in them briefly. I worked at a performing arts and a science and technological school. They were not even enhancing those skills as much as they should be. They were focused on test scores, and they were focused, at least what I saw in these schools, on disciplining these children like adults. I had a program I ran that was an after school program where we helped children learn to regulate their emotions, especially children who are in difficult places, students who had behavioral issues, were speaking out, were hurting other people. And we had these students. And I remember on my last day, we took a field trip every Friday, and it was the performing arts school, and I had the principal drag one of my students down to my room, and she's like, you can't let her go on the trip because she got in trouble at school. And I had to explain to this woman, I'm not school though, like I'm a mental health provider, and I'm not going to she's been doing really good in my program, and I'm not going to punish her for something that I didn't see and that didn't affect my program. And if she does something, I will certainly talk to her about it. But like a lot of these schools have these teachers and these principals who are so burnt out that they can barely handle these kids either. And it's like I'm very blessed. I get one at a time most of the time. I can handle them very well that way. But I will say these groups, they can get really difficult. And like I said, these teachers are really struggling. COVID, as we all knew, really did a number on the youth of today, especially those who were in the early grades during COVID, and even the intermediate ones who are graduating high school now. I mean, literacy is at an all-time low in some of the areas of the U.S., especially the poorer areas. So just like keeping in mind that we need to be there for the youth around us, and spreading, positivity and hope when we can tell you I have a lot of clients who are like, well, everyone hates gay people, everyone hates black people, everyone hates trans people. And I have to like go on my phone and pull up an article and be like, look, 80% of America wants you here, and like the real truth. And they don't see that when they're, especially the teenagers, when they're on their phones and they're scrolling on Instagram all day. They're not seeing the good things. They're only seeing the bad because that's the algorithm. That's how it works, especially on like TikTok and Instagram. So just got to make sure that we're lifting them up, be aware of what's out there on the internet as well. There's a lot of bad stuff on the internet for kids. But be aware of what they're getting into, be aware of them around you. And always just like be as kind as you can to children. You never know what they're going through. Like I've had some kids who look very put together who are going through horrible things, and they seem fine on the outside, but they're really not. So just, treat every child as if, they're experiencing this world too, and they're undergoing the horrors of it. So uplift each other, also take care of yourselves. Like I said, there's always programs that can help. There's always websites. You can learn breathing tricks, you can learn CBT skills online. There are lots of things. Sorry, my cats are running around like crazy. There's lots of things that you can do to help yourself, and I think it's really important to be able to know also when you need to reach out for help, because there is sometimes when you're just too depressed, you're just too anxious, and you can't do it. And reaching out to your network, like we've been talking about, reaching out and saying, I need help. and getting someone there who can help you, however that is, Googling a therapist, calling 988 with you, whatever it is also really important. So, those are my things: community, mental health, kids. I'm happy to be a resource if anyone needs. I'm pretty good at finding resources quickly, no matter the area, especially if you live in a metropolitan area. So, thank you so much, Amanda. I love you deeply. You know this.
Thank you.
Amanda's my favorite person on the planet.
Thank you. After Sam, of course.
After Sam, of course, who I've known most of his life, but he has not
Right.
known me most of his life.
That's right. And always know where the ice cream cooler is. Because
Yeah.
that is
If
very
you want to go
important.
break into the magic house, I can get you ice cream immediately.
We will
I can
sneak
also
you ice
lead you through the scary maze basement.
Yes, we will do that.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dana. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you everyone for being here. So let's make sure. I'm just making sure we're like. Okay. So I prepared a few things here to say. So when I was a little girl, I had a teacher who had a weekly trivia question. One week, her question was, "What's the hottest planet?" To my surprise, she said my answer, Venus, was wrong. I protested and I showed her an encyclopedia where Venus is, in fact, the hottest planet due to greenhouse gases in its very thick atmosphere. And it was a simple example of how authority isn't always right, and being asked to comply with that authority isn't always the right thing to do. We had to teach our children to obey out of safety, but we also sometimes forget to teach them to question things that don't seem right. I was lucky. I had another teacher who taught me that lesson as well. He asked in class why the climate is so different between Northern and Southern Europe. I answered, "Mountains change the weather patterns." He said, "Are you sure?" I looked at Mr. Roy and I faltered, but he interceded. He said, "No, you're right. And it's okay to stand by what you say when you know that you are in the right." And that lesson stuck with me. And if you know you're in the right, stand by it, own it. And of course, the trick is in acknowledging when we aren't right, being open to the possibility that we could be wrong, and owning being wrong, apologizing when needed. We are, after all, imperfect humans in a very imperfect world. That begets the question, how do we know what is right in a world telling us that up is down and 2 plus 2 no longer equals 4? As Tolkien famously wrote, all that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. I think, or I hope, that many of us know the most basic tenets of human empathy. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's a foundational tenet of what it is to be a human, to be able to place ourselves in the position of another person. It's a sign of kindness and introspection to further that with asking a person instead of guessing what they would wish. In short, it's also quite okay to admit when you don't know something. But to understand right from wrong, we have to be able to think through to the consequences of our words and our actions and decide not just how we want history to judge us, but how we want our children to act as well. We can teach them things all we want, but what they will learn most from us is from our actions. And when our actions and words don't match, they will know and they will remember. How do you want your story to be told? Several years ago, I went through a difficult time, a time in which I held fast to my own beliefs of right versus wrong. I was maligned and frankly dragged through the coals, but I held firm to what I knew to be just. And over time, people came to me and said, "I was told X about you, but watching you, I don't believe it." Let your actions speak more loudly than your words. I want to be able to look my beautiful son in his blue eyes and tell him I did my best and I held true to the things that I'm trying to teach him. It isn't always easy, and I mess up. I hope those errors will be met with grace. None of what lies ahead will be easy, and we've already been through the onslaught of fear and loss and downright repugnant disregard of ethics and academics and the very Constitution itself. In his Second Symphony, also known as the Resurrection Symphony, Gustav Mahler weaves an orchestral tale of a mythical hero who is slain in battle. All seeming lost, the very ember of a fiery life rises in a flute solo, the very last ember. The end has been reached. But the mezzo-soprano intercedes, and she reminds us, "O Glaube, mein Herz, O Glaube." And the German goes on, but the translation is, "Oh, believe, my heart, believe. Nothing will get lost. What you have longed for is yours. Yours, what you have loved, what you have strived for." As fires are wont to do, a spark ignites, and the hero rises from the ashes. There's a grand pause at the climax of the last movement, a moment conductor David Robertson, formerly of the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, described as the moment lightning strikes, but before you hear the thunder. And over 300,000 musicians all simultaneously take that breath and both on stage and off roar to life. All is, in fact, not lost, but a new world has begun. And this, my friends, is what we have in front of us right now. We are unfortunately in the dark part of our stories, and it's up to us to carry that light and that spark forward to ensure that good continues to rule and justifiable consequences for all are met. Returning to Tolkien, and something I tell my own son often, "I wish it need not have happened in my time," said Frodo. "So do I," said Gandalf, "and so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us." And he reminds us, "From the ashes a fire shall be woken, a light from the shadows shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken, the crownless again shall be king." There will be no singular hero come to save us, but we've already been fed the steady diet of dystopian fiction. We know what to do. Let's do it. And I want to harken back to something Catherine said earlier about being just one person. I, for many years, thought, I'm just one person. What can I do? And in 2018 or 2019, I watched two women confront Senator Jeff Flake from Arizona in an elevator in the Capitol building. And at the end of the day, Brett Kavanaugh was still confirmed as a sitting Supreme Court justice. But I realized one person did a thing. Wow. And it lit a fire in me. I started getting involved in local politics. I helped campaign for someone running for mayor. I realized one person can indeed make a difference. Now, what do we do with that? That's the hard part. What do we do? And it's hard to get people to realize that they already know the answers. Sure, we can go out and protest, we can go hold a sign, we can do all the things that we think we're supposed to be doing, but that's not really the answer. The answer comes not in asking, what should we be doing? We need to be looking at ourselves and asking, what can I do? What are my strengths? What are my strengths? I'm going to play to my strengths, and I'm going to put those strengths to use. I'm going to put that out into the world right now. Instead of trying to decide, hey, how can I fit into this mold? No, go make your own mold and put that mold out there for other people to come along and repeat, 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 repeat. That is how we get things done. You don't have to figure out what strength it is that you have. You already know what your strength is. Go use that. I have a big mouth and I like to organize things. And it doesn't matter if I'm sitting here in my lovely apartment with electricity right now, despite the tornadoes last night. I'm not in a tent, but even if I am in a tent, I can still do this. And you know what your strengths are. Go use that and go put it out there into the world. So let's be the heroes that all of us are expecting. We know this drill. We grew up reading all these things. We know what to do. Let's go do it. I want to thank everyone for being here. And thank you so much for taking the time out today. No Kings wasn't going to have anybody doing anything. They just wanted to have a watch party. And I was like, I'm going to do it anyway. So thank you for being part of that. I'll see you all on the flip.